Have you ever felt your heart beat harder during pleasure and thought it was normal? That moment when your chest races, your blood heats up, and your whole body seems to pulse with your breathing? Yes, pleasure really does speed up the heart. But what few men realize is that the same process that fuels climax can also, when repeated in excess, wear down the most important muscle in your body. And no, I'm not talking about the penis, I'm talking about your heart. During pleasure, the body enters a state of physiological euphoria. Dopamine rises, adrenaline surges, and blood is pumped more forcefully to every region, especially the penis. The heart works like an engine at high RPM, pushing oxygen and energy to sustain climax. In healthy, balanced men, that's natural, it's part of vitality. But when the stimulus is constant, daily, with no recovery time, that same heart starts showing signs of overload. The truth is that pleasure, when lived without pause, turns the heart into a hostage of chemistry. With every ejaculation, there's an intense dump of adrenaline and dopamine, followed by a sharp drop when the body releases prolactin to slow things down. This hormonal up and down, repeated frequently, is like flooring the gas and slamming the brakes at high speed. Eventually the engine overheats. And when the engine is your heart, the price is high. Many men report palpitations, fatigue, lightheadedness, or even a sudden pressure in the chest after climax. Most ignore it, assume it's normal, part of pleasure. But the body is warning you. The heart, like the brain and the nervous system, needs balance. Excess pleasure, even when it seems harmless, is a physical stimulus as intense as a high-performance run. After 35 or 40, this impact becomes even more evident. The heart no longer responds with the same flexibility, and the nervous system takes longer to recover. Pleasure that once energized you starts to leave your body tired and your chest racing for too long. Pleasure should be a gift, not a trigger for exhaustion. When you understand what's happening inside your body, you discover that the secret isn't feeling less, it's feeling with awareness. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and today I am going to explain what really happens to your heart during pleasure, and why excess can be dangerous. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Because here I talk about men's sexual health with scientific grounding, no taboos, and in plain language. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt your heart race after pleasure? During orgasm, the heart becomes the silent protagonist. While the brain commands pleasure and the penis responds, it's the heart that sustains the energy that makes it all happen. Every beat becomes more intense, faster, stronger, the entire body enters a state of physiological alert. In just seconds, heart rate can jump from 70 to over 140 beats per minute. It's the equivalent of running an emotional marathon inside your own body. What happens is simple but powerful. As soon as the brain senses sexual stimulation, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, the same one responsible for fight-or-flight responses. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are released, dilating vessels and speeding up the heart. Blood moves with greater pressure, oxygenates muscles, and reaches the penis in greater volume. That powerful blood flow sustains the erection, but it also demands more from the cardiovascular system. At climax, blood pressure rises and the heart beats intensely. The entire body is flooded with dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, the triad of pleasure and relaxation. For a few seconds, the body experiences a perfect chemical explosion. But right after comes the descent. The body releases prolactin, the hormone that forces rest, and the parasympathetic system kicks in, slowing heartbeats and relaxing the body. That rise and fall is natural, but when it happens too often, the heart starts to feel it. Each ejaculation requires a micro-recovery. The problem is that without enough time between one and the next, the body accumulates cardiovascular and nervous fatigue. It's like keeping the engine at redline every day without changing the oil. Performance drops, blood pressure fluctuates, and the body responds with fatigue and palpitations. For most young, healthy men, this goes unnoticed. But over the years, especially after 35, cardiovascular recovery gets slower. The heart remains strong, but it needs more time to rebalance. That's why excess pleasure can trigger odd symptoms, like a heart that stays fast too long after orgasm, shortness of breath, or even mild dizziness. Pleasure is a sprint. The problem is when you turn that sprint into a no-rest marathon. And that's exactly what I want to explain now, the cost of excess, when pleasure becomes overload for the heart. Pleasure is healthy, but excess charges a price, especially from the heart. It's the most loyal muscle you have. It works in silence, without pause, every day of your life. But when it's forced to handle intense hormonal dumps too often, it starts to suffer a kind of fatigue few notice. The heart is resilient, but not infinite. With each climax, the body releases adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine, substances that speed the heart, raise blood pressure, and prepare the body for an energy burst. In small doses, that's vital. But when this dump is repeated without recovery time, the sympathetic nervous system, responsible for this alert state, becomes hyperactivated. The heart starts working at a faster rhythm all the time, even when you're not aroused. That creates a cycle of silent cardiovascular overload. This constant stimulus directly affects the balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. The first accelerates, the second calms. But with pleasure lived in excess, the body barely activates rest mode. It's like living permanently on alert. The result is a heart that never fully relaxes. Over time, that can show up as palpitations, blood pressure swings, shortness of breath, and even muscular chest pains. On top of that, excess pleasure depletes magnesium and potassium, minerals essential for cardiac contraction and rhythm control. The body spends these nutrients with each ejaculation, and if they aren't properly replenished, the heart begins to lose electrical efficiency, which can show up as irregular beats and fatigue. Another factor is hormonal impact. The drop in testosterone and the rise in prolactin after excessive ejaculation alter metabolism, reduce muscular recovery, and leave the heart more vulnerable to inflammation and oxidative stress. It's as if the body were aging faster. Many men mistake these symptoms for anxiety or general stress. But in truth, the body is responding to excess sexual stimulation. The heart tries to adapt, but if the pace continues, it starts to lose flexibility, that ability to speed up and slow down in balance. Pleasure should be a workout for the heart, not a stress test. And if your body is already showing signs, it's because the limit was crossed. Now I want to show you how pleasure chemistry, when lived in excess, becomes stress. And why dopamine, adrenaline, and cortisol can be both allies and enemies of your heart. Pleasure and stress are opposites only on the surface. Inside the body, they use the same pathways. Dopamine, adrenaline, and cortisol are part of the same circuit. And when pleasure is lived in excess, what should be a peak of satisfaction starts blending with the stress mechanism. Without realizing it, the body begins reacting to pleasure as if it were danger. During climax, the brain activates the sympathetic nervous system, releasing adrenaline and noradrenaline, the same substances produced in flight or fight. They raise heart rate, speed breathing, and dilate vessels. At the same time, dopamine spikes, creating the feeling of pleasure and achievement. It's an intense combination, and the heart must keep up. The problem arises when this cycle repeats in excess. With every stimulus, the body spends hormonal and mineral reserves to sustain the peak. Dopamine plummets right after pleasure, and the brain, trying to compensate, increases cortisol, the stress hormone. The result is a body caught between two extremes, excitation and exhaustion. The heart feels it before any other organ. When cortisol stays high for long periods, it harms vessel elasticity, alters blood pressure, and interferes with insulin sensitivity. It also robs magnesium, a vital nutrient for muscular relaxation and heart rhythm control. The heart ends up working under constant tension, as if it could never rest. Meanwhile, the brain adapts. Repetitive, fast pleasure reduces sensitivity to dopamine, making you need more stimulus to feel the same effect. This continuous chase raises cortisol even more, creating a pleasure-stress-pleasure loop that exhausts the nervous system. This chemical blend makes a man live in a state of fake energy, aroused, but tired. The body looks active, but inside it's drained. The heart keeps racing, but real vitality declines. Over time, this constant oscillation affects libido, drive, and overall health. Balanced pleasure is the best antidote to stress. Lived in excess, it turns into exactly what it should relieve. That's when the body starts warning you. The heart, chest, and breathing all send signals that the rhythm must change. Now let me show you those signs, the silent alerts your heart sends when pleasure is crossing the line. The body always warns before it fails. And the heart is the first to try talking to you when your pleasure rhythm is exceeding the limit. But men, used to ignoring fatigue and forcing the body, rarely listen. They feel chest tightness, breathing shifts, fatigue hit, and keep going, thinking it's normal. Until one day, the body speaks louder. The first sign is prolonged tachycardia. During pleasure, it's natural for the heart to race. But if it takes too long to slow down, your sympathetic system is overloaded. The body is struggling to return to rest, a clear sign that the balance between arousal and recovery is lost. The second sign is sudden fatigue after climax. That moment your body shuts down, your chest feels heavy, and pleasure is followed by a drained feeling. This happens because your heart and brain spent more energy than they had. The sharp drop in dopamine and the rise in prolactin and cortisol leave you depleted, like sprinting without a warm-up. The third sign is irregular palpitations or chest discomfort. Many men describe it as a different beat, a light pressure, or an annoying flutter. This can result from loss of essentials like magnesium and potassium, which control heart rhythm. Frequent excess sexual stimulus accelerates the loss of these nutrients, making the heart more vulnerable to mild arrhythmias. The fourth sign is mild shortness of breath or shallow breathing during or after pleasure. That indicates your body is mixing pleasure with stress. The heart's working too fast and the brain is getting less oxygen. And the fifth sign, the most dangerous, is normalizing these symptoms. When a man gets used to a sped-up body, a tight chest, and constant fatigue, he stops noticing how hard he's pushing his heart. The danger is right there. The heart doesn't give many warnings before it collects. These signs don't mean pleasure is a risk, they mean your body is asking for a pause. Pleasure shouldn't leave you exhausted or uncomfortable, it should leave you calm, energized, and alive. When you learn to listen to your heart, pleasure becomes your ally again. Now I'll explain how to balance pleasure, respect your body, and protect your heart without sacrificing potency. Balancing pleasure isn't depriving yourself, it's learning to feel with intelligence. The heart and the penis work in sync, but both need rhythm. When one accelerates too much, the other pays the price. The secret to keeping both strong is simple: give your body time to recover between stimulus peaks. First step, respect the intervals between ejaculations. Like any other system, the heart needs rest. Give it at least 48 to 72 hours to restore dopamine, adrenaline, and testosterone levels. That not only protects your heart, it improves erection quality. A body rewarded with time returns potency with strength. Second step, strengthen the cardiovascular system outside the bedroom. Pleasure is safer and more intense in a trained body. Walking, light running, strength training, and breathing exercises increase your heart's capacity to handle arousal. The man who cares for circulation has more control, more stamina, and more pleasure. Third step, replenish the nutrients that sustain the heart and desire. Semen is rich in zinc, magnesium, and selenium, and your body needs these minerals to keep heart rhythm stable. Foods like nuts, fish, dark leafy vegetables, and eggs help balance hormonal and cardiovascular systems. A well-nourished body feels pleasure intensely and safely. Fourth step, reduce stress outside of pleasure. The same nervous system that speeds your heart at climax responds to daily tension. If you live under constant stress, you arrive at pleasure already on alert. Simple practices like deep breathing, meditation, or just better sleep lower cortisol and keep your heart healthy. Fifth step, the most important, live pleasure with presence. The heart suffers more with quick, automatic pleasure than with pleasure lived consciously. When a man slows down, he feels more and wears down less. Conscious pleasure feeds the body instead of draining it. Pleasure and the heart were meant to work together. But like a good song, the secret isn't intensity, it's rhythm. Now let me show why the same heart that speeds with pleasure is the one that keeps you alive, and it needs your respect. The heart and pleasure have always walked side by side. One doesn't exist without the other. Pleasure speeds the heart, and the heart gives life to pleasure. But when rhythm is lost, what was connection turns into overload. Your body doesn't want you to stop feeling, it wants you to feel the right way. And the right way is with balance, presence, and awareness. Modern men learn to chase pleasure as if it were fuel, but excess pleasure is like keeping your foot on the gas, eventually the engine overheats. The heart isn't a desire machine, it's a life mechanism. It feels every dopamine dump, every adrenaline peak, every wave of emotion. When you ignore the limit, it tries to warn you, it palpitates, tightens, tires. It's not fear, it's a message. The male body has energy to spare, but it also has a biological tempo. When you respect that tempo, pleasure stops being a risk and becomes a force again. The heart steadies, the mind lightens, the body grows more potent. And the erection, which depends on circulation and hormonal balance, becomes firm and natural again. It's your whole body responding to the right rhythm. Balanced pleasure strengthens the heart. It improves oxygenation, reduces stress, and releases endorphins that protect blood vessels. But when pleasure is lived without pause, the very system that gives you life begins to run down. That's where many men lose control, not because the body failed, but because they insisted on ignoring what it was saying. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and I see this every day. Men thinking they're out of breath because of age, when in truth they're just out of rhythm. The heart doesn't need more pleasure, it needs pauses. Respect. Awareness. The secret to vitality isn't feeling less, it's feeling wisely. The heart and pleasure must dance together, in the same beat. If you've made it this far, congratulations, it shows you want to understand your body and truly care for your energy. Now, subscribe to the channel, because here I talk about men's sexual health with scientific grounding, no taboos, and in direct language. Leave your like if this video made you rethink how you live pleasure and comment below, my heart and my pleasure in balance. And for those who stayed until the end, the next video is already on the screen, there I explain how to balance pleasure, hormones, and male vitality to live with more energy and potency. Click and keep going with me, because understanding your body is the first step to mastering your energy.